Hi, welcome to This Expat Life. My name is Amanda Maxime, and as a certified coach, I help high-achieving expats find more fulfillment and happiness in their global lives. Because while life abroad is often amazing, it is not only rainbows and butterflies, as all experienced expats know. In This Expat Life, I open up space for all facets of life abroad and what you can do to thrive in it. And to support you in your personal, professional, and geographic life transitions, I share tips, tell relatable stories, and connect with fellow expats. Whether you've just moved abroad or you are a seasoned expat, This Expat Life is your place to find real understanding and to grow from the inside out. Enjoy the show. Hey, welcome back to This Expat Life, and wow, it feels like forever since I last spoke with you. I know This Expat Life continued over summer. We had this wonderful The Global Woman summer series where I interviewed amazing, inspiring global women, but they were pretty much pre-recorded and they were all interviews. And so the last time that I had a solo episode feels like forever ago. And I just wanted to check in with you again because it really feels like a new season is starting for me and maybe for you as well. So I don't even know where to begin. I had the most amazing and pretty intensive summer, but in a really good way. And even though I know most people, the back to school vibe started already 2-3 weeks ago, for me, it only feels like back to school is only starting now. And speaking of schools, I'm at home as I'm recording this, and I have a primary school in my street, and the noise is so loud. It's always really hard for me to choose a time to record the episodes, but I couldn't find a time today where it was really quiet, so I thought, you know what, I'll just go ahead with it, and I really hope that the microphone is not picking up on it. In any case, I really feel like summer can so easily pass in a blur of, travels and people and plans and fun that you have. And for me personally, I wanted to reflect on what stood out for me and what I'm taking with me into the next season. And as always, really hoping to inspire you to either do the same reflection on your summer as well, or maybe get inspired by my reflection and what I'm sharing with you. So let's just do a little recap. I've just returned from a crazy month of traveling, but summer obviously in the Northern Hemisphere starts late June, 21st of June, I guess. And if I look back to that period, I was launching the Co-Pilot, my signature program where I help expats make confident and clear decisions and also take action on those decisions. So that was already a really fun period where I gathered a really cool group of women, only women this time, who are still as we speak into the program and taking steps, by getting clearer on what it is that they want, on taking action, on understanding what is really important to them. And it's been amazing to watch their growth already. In July, I was doing another round of Excel freezing. I'm always wondering if I should be open about this or not. I kind of feel that this is really personal information, obviously, but I am a very open person. And what has really helped me in deciding that I wanted to freeze my Excels was talking to people who have done something similar and to seeing examples of amazing women who were doing the same thing. And to see, okay, there isn't anything wrong with me. It's totally normal to do this. And so this is also why I'm mentioning it, because, if you are thinking about it, I want you to know you're not the only one going through that process. And then the travel started. So early August, I flew to California, where I had a road trip with a new friend. I met her at the business event that I always travel to. And we had met in person for the first time in April in Phoenix. This was really funny because at that time when I flew to Phoenix, I still didn't have a hotel for the first night. And she offered I could stay with her in her apartment that she had rented. But I was like, no, I don't really know her. Like, I'll probably be jet lagged. Let me find my own space. And I couldn't find anything that was like affordable and normal. And I thought I'll just wait till the very last minute and see if a last minute deal comes up. Surprise, surprise, that last minute deal didn't come up. And as I was on the plane on my way to Phoenix, I was like, I better have a hotel right now, because if I get questions at border control, I need to show them something. So I wrote to her and said, okay, I'll stay with you for that first night. And what a surprise. We hit it off straight away and we became really close friends. We really hit it off. And then we decided to do a road trip this August together prior to our next business event. And this is when we really became friends. So early August, we flew to San Francisco, and in 5 days, after we spent a day in San Francisco, in 5 days, I had driven because I had done all the driving. We had driven 1,600 kilometers. That's 1,000 miles. That was insane in just 5 days. So that was a lot of going to places, and we didn't stay very long in one place, 1 night, 2 nights, only until our business event. Then we stayed there for, I think, 3 nights. I had the business event, and then I went on another road trip with 2 other friends that I also know from this business event. So we went to Yucca Valley and to Palm Springs, and it was amazing. I love the desert, so this was really, really nice. And then I had a few days by myself, and I traveled a little bit north again, and I went to Ojai and Los Alamos, also in California, and then I flew home. And then I came back home on a Sunday afternoon, and by Wednesday morning, I was already flying to Rio de Janeiro, the place where I lived for 6 months last year, and a place that I know very well because I had also lived in Brasilia for 3 years, and I traveled very often to Rio back then for work. And this was because one of my sisters is a flight attendant, and she had Rio in her schedule, and she called me and said, "Do you want to come with me?" That was already, I think, maybe 6 weeks ago that she asked me that. So I was like, yeah. And then my other sister said, also, yeah. So we decided to give it a try. And it's always the question if you can really travel, because if you travel with someone of the crew, there needs to be a place available. And we were very lucky. There was the business class seats. Yay. Something of my vision board came true already this year. And yeah, we had 48 hours in Rio, and then we flew back. And then I spent 4 days at home, or not even, I think, 4 days more or less. And then I flew to London, another place where I once lived, where I hosted a fantastic coaching workshop dinner with Candice, who has been on the show here as well. I interviewed Candice, I think in May, I'm not quite sure anymore. And when we were done with the interview, we stayed on the call, we started chatting, and we hit it off. And we kind of started talking about hosting an event together. And so we did. And that was the reason why I flew to London. And so now I have returned. I came back Saturday afternoon. It is now Tuesday afternoon. In between my trips, the 4 days at home, I also worked. I came back on a Sunday afternoon. By Monday, I was already coaching my clients again because I hadn't been at home much. And I do want to support my clients and I have to work. So it was very, very busy the last couple of weeks, but it was absolutely the best. I was so happy. And this also leads me to perhaps the first reflection. Not perhaps, it is the first reflection. And that is that even though I had the best month, I was so explorative, I was so extroverted relatively, I was so happy, I was so in the moment. I also realized that I couldn't really hear my inner voice. So I had so much inspiration going on, so much connection. I was traveling with all these really inspiring women. I went to the business event where we did masterminding with complete strangers that went really deep straight away. If you don't know what masterminding is, you basically have a set time to talk about your question or topic and everyone pitches in to help you. So it was a really inspiring business event as well. I left with so many new insights for my business, but also for mindset stuff, because the focus of the August retreat is always on mindset. So I got some amazing tools to pass on to my clients now. So there was a lot going on and it was really inspiring. It made me all really happy and I felt so connected because I was nonstop with people 24/7 all the time. A big change from how I live at home. I did miss the space that I needed to get in touch with my inner voice. So I'm a pretty intuitive person. I'm sure there are more intuitive people than me, but compared to most high achievers who have a rational mind and who like to do things well, I'm perhaps more on the intuitive side. But in order to hear my intuition and to use it for my small and big decision making, I do need to create the space and quietness and solitude to hear it. And that was missing in this trip. Now, for this trip, that was fine. You don't need to hear your intuition every single time. But when I travel, I do like to get inspired by the things that happen around me and what I see and how my environment impacts me. And there was a lot of input, but I couldn't fully translate it to output. So there was a lot going on that I was just soaking in and absorbing and experiencing. But I lacked the space to really let all those things land and integrate so that I could do something with them. So one of the things that I have decided over this trip, especially during the business event, is that I'm going to focus more on This Expat Life. I love my podcast, but I've been doing it as one of my projects. And obviously, my main focus is with my one-on-one clients and the co-pilots and a few other cohorts and things that I run sometimes. And This Expat Life is more like a side project that I use for fun to connect with you. But I really realized I want to connect more with you, and I want to focus more on this podcast and on growing this community here. That was one intuitive download that I really got, but everything else during that trip, it needed more time to land because I first needed to be in my own energy again. So when I had a few quiet days by myself in Ojai and Los Alamos, I had all these plans to explore, to hike in the hills. It's absolutely gorgeous there. But when I was there, all I felt was I just want some quiet time with my book and my journal and a cup of coffee, and I'm not going to do anything. I don't want to push myself or confine myself in my schedule. I just want to see what time I wake up, how I feel, because prior to that, there hadn't been any time for that because every day I had to be somewhere, I had to wake up, I had to drive somewhere too, I had to be somewhere for an event. And so in Ojai, I finally felt that space to really come back to myself and to be okay, with everything that I experienced in the last 2 weeks, now what does that mean to me? And so the first reflection that I want to share with you over this summer is that you do need the space to hear your intuition. And this is often where I see it go wrong, quote unquote, with most of my clients, because many of them are go-getters and they're constantly on the go, like I was on my trip, and they fill their expat life with so much, with work, with exercise, with meeting their friends, with other goals they have for themselves, with travel, and their schedule is full. And I have a few clients that are their life is so full that my main advice to them is always slow down and make space. And if you don't do that, yes, you're going to live an amazing, fun, exciting life full of things that are happening for you. But if you don't consciously make space for slowing down, for nothing, for things to pop up, for you to hear your own inner voice, it's going to get really hard for you to get closer to your intuition and let your intuition influence your decisions. And if you want to make decisions, big and small, short-term, long-term, that are good for you, you do want to be in contact with your intuition because your intuition already knows what is good for you. And your rational mind is often the party pooper. So if you're someone that has this very busy life, your days are packed, your calendar's full, if there's almost no room for spontaneity, do I pronounce it well? You know what I mean? Or you have very little time that is really for you to do nothing. So maybe you do spend some time on your own by yourself, but you fill that up with things you have to do or projects that you have for yourself. If you don't have that quiet space, go create that from now on. See where this coming week you can have some more quiet space for yourself, because it's in those hours that you just get to float a little bit when your intuition starts to speak. So I hope you can do that if you're someone with a very busy life. And even if it's just 10 minutes a day, these things can work. All right, then on to my second reflection. And I have 5, I think, for this episode. I'll go through them a bit speedier than I've done now. I really saw twice, once as a participant and one as an organizer, that the right room can accelerate your growth. So I was in my business, at my business event. They call it a business retreat, but it's really jam-packed. Everything, the entire day and evening is filled with stuff that we need to do. So it's not really a retreat. But I was at that event, and whenever I speak into that room, I really feel, this is my space. These are my people. We speak the same language. Now, these are all different people. We come from different parts of the world. We have different, different businesses, different things that are going on for us. We are of a different age, but yet we all speak the same language because we all are working with the same mentor and his programs and the people inside his programs, his other coaches. And so we were tasked on day one to sit with strangers and to mastermind with them throughout the 2 days. My event was actually a 3-day one because I had an alumni day attached to it. But also there on that alumni day, we did the same thing. And so we were masterminding with strangers. And because we all spoke the same language, because we don't really take bullshit answers, it went deep straight away. And the questions that they asked me and that I asked them and that we asked each other were so much more specific and profound and deep than it would be with a room of strangers that didn't speak that language. And it's a curated room of like-minded strangers who are becoming friends more and more. And I saw the same principle being applied to my workshop event in London because my co-hosts, after I did the first part of the coaching, already after 5 minutes, people were opening up and sharing like deep things that they were struggling with. And during one of the breaks for me and the co-host, while the rest was connecting and making finding new friends, my co-host said, "Wow, I'm surprised that people open up so quickly." And I said, "I'm not surprised because I've seen this happen so often at my own events that I participate in, but also the events that I organize and the group goals that I very often offer to all my clients. Because the moment there is this shared space where people come in with the same problem, the same experience, the same context, the same personality, the same language that you speak, it changes the room and it shifts something inside of everyone. Because all of a sudden everyone can realize, oh, I'm with like-minded people here. And I get to be myself and I can really share what's going on for me. And I get to show up as my real, authentic, full self. And yeah, I saw that happening in London as well, where friendships were being made and deeper things were being shared right away. And that was really beautiful to witness. And that is one of my reflections of this summer, like the right room can really accelerate your growth. Because the moment you get to be honest with yourself and with those around you, the conversation goes deeper. And you touch upon more profound topics that ultimately help you to grow. And if you are in the right room with the right people, they will also mirror you, they will challenge you, and they will support you. And these are all things that you need to grow. Because there's a lot that you can do from reading books and from taking courses and from thinking about things. But the real growth happens in action, happens in contact with other people, in real life. And these rooms can really accelerate that. So yeah, this really helped me see that I want to do this more often. I'm already doing it with group calls, but I would love to organize more events. So stay tuned. But just for you now, with this personal reflection that I have of being in the right room, where in your life are you being in the right room right now, where you can show up as your real full self? And where aren't you yet? Where are you perhaps craving a room like that? A room of like-minded people who can really help you accelerate your growth. And if you don't have that room and you want another room or more rooms, seek them out this season, this fall. That might be a nice little thing for you to do. Okay, and then reflection number 3. So I got to spend time in The Hague, where I live now, in Rio, where I lived last year, in London, where I lived, 10 years ago, for 2.5 years, and in California, where I feel I will live at some point in the future. I'm not sure when. And so this summer I was realizing, hey, I am in the locations of my past, present, and future selves. And I'm really feeling that California is one of the places where my future self is going to be living. It's no secret that I have a dream of living in the US. And people always ask me, oh, where do you want to live in the US? Well, right now the Southwest is really calling me, California and Arizona, but I have yet much more to explore. So let's see how that's all gonna play out for me. But where I really felt at home before was in Santa Barbara. The moment, that was last year, the moment I was in Santa Barbara, I was like, wow, I don't know what's going on here, but this is my place. And I kept saying, wow, all the time, those 4 days there. And this time I also went to Laguna Beach, and where all my friends really loved that, I was like, I don't feel the energy here. This is not the right place for me. Obviously, I wouldn't say no to it, but it's just not my place. And then I went to Ojai, and I was right away, I had this feeling like, whoa, it's so beautiful here. Those green hills, like it's something grounding inside of me. And I realized, hey, this is actually really close to Santa Barbara. And so it seems like I found my favorite region or area in the US, at least for now. So, who knows, in the future, I will be living there. And so I realized that I'm in the locations of my past, present, and future self. And something that I realized as well around there is that I could easily adapt to all these different places, even though they're so wildly different. Rio compared to London is just very, very different. And I'm a bit of a chameleon, and I wonder if you recognize the same thing, and I would love to hear. Whereas if I'm in Rio or Brazil, I'm more extroverted. I chat to my Uber drivers all the time. I'm more smiling. I'm more light. I'm more, I don't know. It's different there. It's also a different climate, different people, and that brings out something for me. Whereas when I'm in London, it's more like I'm a bit more close, but still open. I'm not as close as I am in the Netherlands. And in the US, I'm also very chatty, but in a different way than in Rio. It's really hard to describe. So I know I'm a bit of a chameleon, and I know that my environment always really impacts me and how I show up and what is present for me and what comes out for me. So I wonder if you have the same thing. And what I realized there is that I was so good at adapting to all these different places, and at all these places I sort of felt at home. Not like, okay, this is my home, but I felt very comfortable. The risk here is that if you adapt so much all the time, and every place has something good that you can settle into, and you become very flowy and you adapt more to whatever is going on the outside of you. So what is really important here with that risk is that you build a strong inner foundation, like an inner home, that you really feel, okay, this is the core me. The core stays the same, over time, over a decade, might change, whatever, but overall it stays the same. I have my core values. I know what's important to me. I know my needs. I know how I tick. I know what I bring to the table. But then the outside layer, I'm a really visual person, so I'd see this right away. The outside layer might be constantly in motion and responding to the outer environment. That's what is going on for me. And so in this summer, I really saw that happening, that in those 4 weeks I spent in 4 different locations, and I could so easily adapt. And that's this great skill to have, but at the same time, it's so important to nurture that inner home. And so I was able to do that throughout. In California, it was a bit more difficult because I didn't have that quiet time and space, but I did feel, okay, this is me, this is what I need, etc., etc. This is what I find important. And what really helped for me was that in all these places, I was either mostly with people that I could really, really be myself with, my family, my close friends, but even in those rooms where I feel it's safe to be myself, or I was alone. So yeah, if you are someone like me who easily adapts and who responds to the outer environment, what about your inner home? And how can you make that foundation perhaps a little bit more solid if that's needed? In my one-on-one coaching, this is something that we do. We really go to the core of you, and we help you understand yourself fully at a really deep level, so you can take that with you and nurture that foundation wherever you go. But just a question for now is like, what can you do to nurture your inner home a little bit more this coming season in fall? Okay, and then this summer, I already described a few things that were going on for me, but I haven't even mentioned something really nice that happened. So what you might not know and expect is let's talk in the present tense. I used to have a fear of being seen. Now, this is all related to how I grew up and my childhood and the traumas that I have related to that. But in a way, it wasn't fully safe for me to be seen. And so I took that with me. As a diplomat, I stayed very much in the background until I learned, okay, it's safe to speak up. At school, at university, I never raised my hand, even though I kind of knew the answer. And now I'm very open on social media, but whenever I go into a new group with people I don't know, I'm still looking at things from the sidelines first before I really step into it, or I used to. And so I have a fear of being really seen. Now, this summer I was being seen and it was really fun. So 2 things happened. One is that you may remember my Great Reset project, and where I really started to embody every day, okay, what can I do to do some great reset activity? And one of the things that I think I did in May was that I pitched an article to a platform. And because one of my business friends was encouraging me to do that, lovingly, yet firmly. And while I was doing that, I was thinking and also talking about it with a friend, I would love to be in the magazine of KLM, my favorite airline. And I had that thought already a year and a half ago when I was flying and I saw the magazine. I was like, wow, I want to be in this magazine because I live for travel. I love aviation. My clients live all over the world. It will be the perfect match for me. And while I was pitching myself for that other article, I thought, you know what? Now I'm actually going to put this idea that I've had on my mind already for a year and a half into practice. And so I submitted a story about a remarkable flight that I had. That's one of the small sections that they have in their in-flight magazine. And I wrote about my story about how I traveled from Brasilia to the Netherlands in 2020 at the end of my diplomatic posting with my 2 Brazilian cats, and how it was a bittersweet moment for me because I knew already that this was going to be my last flight as a diplomat because I knew I was going to quit my job. And they liked the story and they called me for a short interview and they rewrote it a little bit. And I was a little bit annoyed because all they wanted to speak about were my cats, which I totally understand because they're total babes. But I also wanted to share this deeper thing that was going on inside of me, this bittersweet moment. But well, it didn't make it because the story is very short. But this August, they published it with a photo of me and my friend carrying the 2 crates with the cats inside of them and a little drawing. And it was really, really nice. And because I flew so much in August with KLM, I saw that article in the magazine again and again. And it was really, really nice. And yeah, I was really, really proud of it, actually, that it was so easy to do. I finally did it and I felt so positive about it. There was zero fear of being seen. And another thing that happened is that I had my very first TV interview. And this is not related to my work as a coach for expats. It is related to my previous job as a diplomat, something that I worked on in one of my last months. They're creating a TV documentary about that this foreign political thing that happened that had a big impact on lots of people. And I had a phone call with someone and we started talking about it because we were doing the same kind of work in that period. And then she said, I'm in contact with a TV producer. They're creating this documentary. I'm going to give you your name. Would you be interested in having a TV interview? And I was like, yeah. And I said, my intuition said, yeah, right away. I felt I was leaning in towards this opportunity. But of course, the moment I said it and after the TV producer called me and then they confirmed they wanted to interview me, I had all the fears coming up. I was thinking, what will people think? What will my colleagues say? They will judge me. What do I even have to say? I was like a tiny, tiny part of this whole thing that went on. My job wasn't even that relevant. What people might think I'm seeking attention, or I had all these thoughts going on inside my brain. And there wasn't a real moment, but there was a little bit of this energy of like, maybe I'm just going to cancel it because that just seems easier, because then I'm not going to upset anyone. I'm not going to wake up the dogs. Is that a saying in English? I'm not even sure if it's in Dutch. Maybe I'm just making it up. But, that way things will stay calm and quiet and no one can have an opinion on me. And doing this podcast is easy because, I share what I want to share, and sometimes I get reactions from you, which I'm always grateful for. But it's pretty much a one-way street with dedicated listeners who are part of the community, and it just feels safe here. But being on national TV about a topic that it wasn't my turf, never was my turf only, that I have left 3.5 years ago, that comes from an environment where people do judge each other quite a lot, it definitely feels more scary. So there was this energy inside of me where I thought, oh, maybe I just shouldn't do it, because then it's just easier. I don't upset anyone, and nothing can get triggered also inside of me. But I really felt like, no, my intuition said yes. I was leaning towards it, and also it aligns with a bigger vision that I have and things I want to do. I still went ahead with it, and I supported myself in my fear. I really looked with one of my mentors. I really looked up, okay, where is this fear coming from? What is it bringing up for me? What am I making it mean? What can I do to, be okay with my fear? Because fear is never going to go away. It will always show up, no matter how many next levels you go. The real growth happens when you can be with your fear and support yourself through that fear and still do it anyway. And so that's what I did. And I did some practical preparation with one of my friends for media training. And then I went to the TV interview, full hour. I'm 80% happy with what I said. I live by the principle 80% is good enough. Then I let it go. I don't strive for 100% perfection anymore, because that's subjective anyway. And yeah, there were a few things that I thought, ooh, I said that a bit weird, or is it even true? What I said, I can't remember. But overall, I was really happy, and it's out of my hands now. And it will come on TV in spring next year, so it's going to take some time. So the edge also doesn't feel so edgy for me right now. But I'm really glad that I did it, because one of the reasons why I went ahead with it, I had many reasons, but it was like, I want to be more visible. And I want to develop that courage to be more visible. And by saying yes to this now, it may not be super relevant to the work that I do now, but it is preparing me for my next TV interview, whereas it might be on bigger TV, or it might be really important to me because it's about the work that I do with my clients, for example. And so this is already a preparation of something even bigger, of my next level. And that's why I said yeah. And yeah, I think the reflection here is saying yes to this kind of visibility or these opportunities is scary sometimes, because it just can feel scary, or it's like old identities that are pulling you back, that want to keep you safe, and the brain will always choose what is safe, and safe is familiar, and so it tries to keep you here. And to still go ahead with it, to still say yes despite your fear and despite whatever else comes up for you, I think that requires courage. And I'm really happy that I did it, but I'm sharing this all because I really hope to inspire you to do something similar. I have clients who have amazing ideas. One of my clients wants to write a book, and the moment she shared her idea, I was like, please do it, because she shares written things with me sometimes, written reflections in between our sessions, and the way that she writes is so beautiful and it's so intimate that I thought, and the topic that she didn't want to write about, I was like, people need your book, so please go and create and birth that book into the world. People need this. And I have other clients who have ideas for side hustles, who have ideas for events, who want to create some kind of community, and fear and shame are holding them back. And because it's the moment they start creating, they become really visible, and they're super safe in where they are right now, in their current environment, in their current networks or circles. And the moment they become more visible, it feels less safe. And that is such a pity, because the world needs your stuff. And you probably, like my clients, you all have brilliant ideas. You all have these amazing, unique qualities that you bring into the world. And it will be a shame if you don't start creating that simply out of fear or shame. And so I hope you can foster the courage to be more visible, because that is needed to go to your next level. And your next level is probably going to be a very good one for the world. Now, Yeah, I can say that confidently because the people who listen to this show tend to be they tend to be kind and thoughtful and considerate and loving. And so I think this is the energy that the world needs more. So go and birth your stuff, foster the courage to create. And if you need some help with that, you know how to reach me. And I hope that your takeaway can really be also that your next chapter may ask you to show up before you feel fully ready. I had to say yes, even though I didn't feel ready. But now that I did it, it's already within my comfort zone. So the more visible you get to be, the more you can say yes to scary opportunities. You have to start doing that before you feel ready, because then it will be in your comfort zone. And yeah, so many good things will happen afterwards. Okay, the last reflection, and this is an important one that I think it's relevant to you as well, because I see this often go wrong, quote unquote, with my clients, is that, I have a vision that I really strive towards. I have a big vision, and then I have a vision for every year. And I think you and I are very similar in that we have a natural tendency to focus on the gap in front of us, the gap from where we are now to where we want to go. And it's much harder for us to see our progress and to see our gain. Now, there is a book called The Gap and the Gain. That's why I'm using those terms, which you might want to read. But we have this tendency of we're not there yet, to focus on that. And what I realized this summer, and I've had the same realization actually last August, also in California, and I'm being more mindful of it also throughout the year, is that I'm already living my dream life. So I have this vision where I travel the world to do my work, to host events, to bring amazing people together, to spread some coaching magic, to get inspired myself, to connect. That is all included in my bigger vision. And when I look back on the last couple of weeks, I'm living all of that. I'm flying all over the world to be with amazing people. I'm flying to London to host my own workshop dinner with someone else. And so I get to cooperate with someone else as well. I get to bring all these amazing women together. I got connected with so many inspiring other business owners in California. I'm on the go and my work continues and I feel really focused. And so many things of my vision were happening in August and the early September. And of course, am I at the level where this is sustainable? Not yet. Does this happen for me every month? Not yet. Do I have the revenue that I want also to pay for some of these travels all the time? Not yet. However, I recognize for myself that my dream life is already happening. It's unfolding in front of my eyes. And I do that to show myself I'm already living it. I already get to experience all the good things that I want to experience. I already get to feel how I want to feel. And so I can already embody what I want to embody. And I don't focus on the gap in front of me, but I really focus on it's already happening for me. And so I hope you can do the same thing, because you probably have this tendency of focusing on the gap in front of you as well. But if you have your vision, and by the way, if you don't have your vision, this is one of the things I want you to do. It's start writing out your vision. It's one of the exercises I give in the co-pilot as well. Do a vision quest, because if you don't have a bigger vision, then how do you know where you're going to? If you have your vision and you do at some point recognize, you are aware that some elements of it are happening in the here and now already, acknowledge it, celebrate it for yourself, so that you already get to see, okay, it's not some undefined future I keep working towards and it's a struggle. No, it's already happening as we speak. So what more is going to happen for me? What more does the universe have in store for me? Okay, those were my reflections. Now, I would love to hear from you if you had any summer reflections. What was going on for you this summer? What are you taking with you into the fall? And you can let me know by either responding in the Spotify app. There's always a section where you can leave something. You can let me know by sending an email or by connecting with me on Instagram at Amanda Maxime. You can find me there. I would really love to hear. And I read all my messages myself, so you'll get a personal reply from me too. And as I mentioned, I also want to focus more on this expat life and really grow it. And I want to bring more community into the podcast as well. So I would also love to hear from you what topics you would love to hear more about, or what person you would like to have featured on the show. Is there a certain specific or practical question that you have on expat life and on personal growth? Is there a topic that you generally want to hear more about? Is there a person that I need to interview? I would really love to hear. And you can also let me know that in the same way, either by the Spotify box or by just dropping me a message or an email. All right, that's it for now. I hope you have a wonderful day wherever you are in this world, and talk to you next time.